My biggest headache in this business is determining whether a close game is a win or loss or a push. Not only for the handicappers at the site, but for you, the paying customers as well. Inevitably, after every close decision, we will get a ton of emails at customer service which say, hey, the closing line at so-and-so's sportsbook was this. How can you claim this as a win? Or why didn't so-and-so handicapper take that game as a win? My closing price was that. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, 25 plus years I've been in this business. The closing line means nothing. Are you betting the game on the closing line? Absolutely not. And think of this. Most of our handicappers here on the site, on weekends for example, they must have their plays up on a Saturday and Sunday by 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Most of them put those plays up in the middle of the night or even the night before. So they're done well in advance. Weekdays, the deadline is 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I know for a fact that 75 to 85% of our sales come many, many hours before the game is being played. Now, if you're betting a favorite and you're waiting till the last moment to bet a favorite, especially a favorite that is a public team, and when I say public team, let's say in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers, those are public teams. The odds makers know, and the sports books know, and the Vegas books know that you're always going to be willing to pay more for a public favorite, so they're always going to budge that line up a little bit. So whenever you get a favorite, what the hell are you doing waiting till the last minute to bet it? No, you get a favorite, you bet it ASAP. You get an underdog, that's different. If you get a road underdog, you are especially, it would behoove you to wait a little longer to place that bet. But still, you're not waiting until the last minute on that closing line. So why would I ever judge a game on the closing line? It's just a ludicrous proposition. Here's how I grade games, okay guys? I use the lines running throughout the day at the Hilton and the Mirage in Vegas. Sometimes I will look at an off casino as well. When I say an off casino, sometimes I look at stations, okay, stations, casinos in Vegas. But I will then look at those prices, and then I will look at what I consider the two biggest offshore sports books. And when I say their names here, guys, I am not giving them any endorsement. I'm just saying that these are the two that I look because I'm looking for sheer volume in terms of number of customers and the money that they're wagering. And I'll look at sportsbook.com, and I'll look also at Bodog. Now, what I do is this. I will take a look at the price of the game based on two factors when I'm grading it. When was the game released by the handicappers, if it was a weekday game or a weekend game? And when was the most likely time that you bought the game and you wagered on the game? So let's say it's a 4 o'clock game in the NFL on a Sunday. Well, you know, probably I'm looking at the price of what that game was around 12:30 or 1 o'clock. You know, an NBA game on a Tuesday night that tips off at 8:30 Eastern Time. Well, guys, you're not waiting till 7:30 to bet that game. Most bookmakers, local bookmakers, open at 6:30 and they're closed by 7:30. So I'm looking a little earlier in the evening. And again, I'm looking at a price comparison between Sportsbook.com, Bodog, Hilton, and the Mirage, basically in Vegas. And I'm trying to see what the general blend of the price is at that particular time. And that's how I judge a win, a loss, or a push. Now, as you've seen at this site over the years, more often than not, I will go against the handicapper. And when I say that, I mean this. Where I could perhaps give them a charitable win, I would much rather err on the side of caution and call it a loss or maybe a push. Pisses the handicappers off, okay? They don't realize that the breaks all even out over the long term, but I think that's the fair way to go. I would rather see a guy here take a loss on a big play on his homepage, because if he had 300 sales that day, I don't know what all 300 people got that price at and bet that game, but I know this. By acknowledging the fact that he took a close loss because that's how I graded the game, we've got respect, we've got integrity, we've got honesty, and that's what matters most, because 298 of those 300 customers, maybe they won, maybe they pushed. But because I don't know, and a couple of the guys could have lost, I would much rather, again, err on the side of caution. So I hope that explains to you a little bit about how games are graded. One little thing I just want to add here, one more little addendum, okay? I mentioned a couple of sports books, something that you have to realize when you're playing offshore. Sports books raise and lower their prices, especially offshore, based on the number of clients they have and the action that is coming in. It's a little different than Vegas because offshore you're going to get more small $5, $10, $15 players. You know, your average offshore bet is about $14 usually in this business during the football season. So there are certain big sports books, and I'm not going to name any names, where you can often get a price break. And what I say is this: they will often overinflate the favorites. Well, if you're betting an underdog, you definitely want to lean toward those sports books that often overprice the favorites, because you might be getting that extra half point that normally you'd be buying. You'd be getting it for free. Sometimes you could be getting up as much as 1 point. I always say, whether you are shopping or betting in Vegas, like I do, or offshore, you've got to have at least 2 to 3 sources to price shop. It's no different than comparing between Walmart, Kmart, and Target for that favorite product you're in search for. Guys, you shop till you drop, and you realize with experience when you should be betting favorites early, when you should be betting underdogs later in the day.